Welcome to another episode of the Nishant Garg Show with Dr. Gaby. My name is Nishant Garg. This show is about extracting information on mindfulness and personal development. Thank you for listening to this podcast today. Lao Tzu said, "Do the difficult things while they are easy, and do the great things while they are small. A journey of 1,000 miles must begin with a single step." Dr. Gaby has studied everything from Buddhist philosophy to neuroscience, traveling to more than 40 countries to uncover creative and unconventional ways to live a healthy life. She has 14 years of teaching experience under her belt at top universities in mind body medicine and holistic health. She has years of first hand experience providing insight, strategy, and services to help founders grow their businesses and achieve success. From secret Shark Tank VC meetings in New York City to the international stage spotlight, she has a broad perspective of the global marketplace and clear awareness of the challenges that entrepreneurs face. So let the episode begin. Dr. Gaby, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And I was going through your profile. Your profile is very diverse from Buddhist philosophy to neuroscience, mind body medicine, holistic health, massage therapist, healing touch practitioner, and much, much more. And if you're in a social gathering and somebody asks you, "What do you do for a living?" how would you respond?
I usually say I work in wellness. That's usually my response. And if we're able to have a deeper conversation, then I mention that I've been teaching for 15 years and I have different certifications and I'm passionate about transformation and facilitating healing. But in general, I say I've been working in the global wellness industry for 20 years.
And yoga, meditation, mindfulness, they all come under global wellness. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think that that's the new term that captures this market. When I started out many years ago, wellness was not a popular term. So it was sort of difficult to describe the work that I was doing. But now that wellness has become a more mainstream industry, people have an expectation, I think, that it includes mind, body, spirit. They have some familiarity with meditation and yoga and nutrition and different practices. And so that's the term that is the most popular one right now. So that's the one that I use.
And wellness is a bigger umbrella. And as part of wellness, what kind of work do you do?
Uh, my work is always changing. Currently, my work is divided into three main categories. I teach for universities. So I'm currently teaching two courses this semester, a meditation course and a nutrition course. I have private clients that are either individuals or companies that I do consulting work for, coaching. And then I'm also facilitating an online writing community right now to help people with self-expression and creativity.
Can you please explain more on the creative process? And I'm underscoring creative process over here.
Yeah, I have the perspective of the creative process as a tool for transformation and healing. Some people use the creative process just for self-expression, like maybe they're a musician or a visual artist, but the type of creativity that I'm passionate about and that I like to teach is one that helps you do inquiry into who you are, find your voice, express your truth. And as you do that, you create a personal transformation and you impact others to also change in a positive way. So that is the kind of creativity that I enjoy and that I enjoy teaching.
And creativity is unique for each individual. And in the past, we used to say that creativity is only for, or creative work is painting, music, or that kind of work. It is anything. Writing can be creative, or podcasting, or anything is creative which does not exist yet in your life.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think we can bring creativity to a startup company, entrepreneurship, business, marketing, sales, our body, our mind. I think we can activate creativity in any aspect of our life. And I think what's most interesting is the self-creation process, the ways in which we adapt and change and expand by engaging in a creative process.
So you just mentioned that self-creation. What's the difference between self-creation and self-expression?
I think that self-creation is driven by intention. It's an intention for personal growth and development, or reaching your full potential, or engineering a life that is fulfilling. Whereas I think self-expression is taking your unique gifts, maybe it's your voice, maybe it's your writing, maybe it's some talent that you have, and putting that out into the community, into the world. And I believe that that has its own sort of impact on others. So self-creation for me is a more personal process, whereas self-expression invites other people into the process with you.
Interesting. Self-creation is for that individual, and self-expression is inviting others to include in our creative process.
Yeah, there's a connectedness in expression. I mean, I think that it's sort of implicit in the idea of expression that someone's going to be receiving it. So someone's going to be listening to it, like this podcast. They're going to be hearing it. They'll be impacted by it. Whereas with self-creation, a lot of that might be done in contemplation, in meditation, in retreat, in journaling, and things where you're in relationship with yourself. So to me, they're distinct in that way.
And would you like to share any experience from your life when you were struggling in finding your creative process?
I think that the more busy I am, if I have too much doing, the schedule is too full, and there's too much meetings and conversations and activities and assignments and deadlines, I think that's where I lose the strong connection. For me personally, I have to create a space to stay connected and to be able to listen to the creativity within. And so for me, right now, that's like a daily practice of writing. At different times in my life, it may have been a daily meditation practice or a daily yoga practice, or some other practice that really helped me connect. So for me, there has to be a container to hold the creativity and to hear that voice within, and not be too busy and not be too distracted in order to keep the flow and the inspiration.
And creativity requires a lot of free space. It requires a lot of white space, sacred space, when you can think about what is going on in your life. If we are too busy in doing things, we are going away from being, understanding between doing versus being.
Yeah.
And so you mentioned that you have meditation process and different processes in your free time. What
Mm-hmm.
would you recommend to someone who to do things in their free time, not to kill their free time by doing unnecessary things?
Well, it depends on the intention of the free time. Free time can be restorative time, and that could look like getting a massage or soaking in hot springs or something that restores the body. Free time could be time to connect with your inner self. It could be something that's more meditative, or journaling, or making music, or something like that. Free time could just be rest. We have difficulty just practicing rest in Western culture. So it might just be resting. So free time can have different intentions and different practices depending on what the goal is of the free time. Sometimes free time is actually time to be social and connect, because we know that connectedness is a significant part of our health and well-being. We know that loneliness is deadly if we're not in community and we're not in supportive, intimate relationships. So I think we have to listen to our body, our hearts, our minds, our spirits, and figure out what we need in different times so that we can choose the right practices for those needs.
And yep, and including those practices in our free time, or sometimes just doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And just doing nothing can lead to a lot of creative process and energy. How
Mm-hmm.
does mindfulness relate to creative process? And mindfulness is a buzzword these days. I'm a fan of mindfulness. So how mindfulness is related to creative process?
Well, I think that mindfulness is a great word for this idea of being that you're that you're describing, mindfulness is, in my opinion, an attention to the present moment, attention to present sensations and experience, and increasing your awareness of that present moment is the first step to both healing and creativity. We have to be aware of who we are and what's happening in order to have the attention and the practices that will create transformation. We have to be present and aware so that we can connect with our creativity. So you can have mindfulness when you're eating, you can have it when you're walking, you can have it when you're talking, you can have it when you're just sitting and listening. And it's a way to listen as opposed to doing. I think it's connected to what you were describing in terms of taking time to
Being
do
in that
nothing.
moment.
Yeah.
And listening requires a lot of effort. And actually, active listening requires a lot of effort. When we are actively listening to somebody, we need to be mindful and being at the present moment awareness and not worrying about the past or what is going to happen in the future. And I think people feel that mindfulness is meditation. What do you think about that? I think mindfulness is not meditation.
No, I don't think it's meditation. I think mindfulness can lead to meditation, because if you go into mindfulness and you become aware, then you can do the listening. And the listening, I think, when people first start to practice meditation, the listening that they hear is the restless mind. The listening that they hear is the worry about the past, the worry about the future, the to-do list. I think that that's the listening that they hear when they first sit to meditate. And then if you sit and you allow that to become quiet, then I think you drop into meditation, which is an opportunity to connect with no thought, an opportunity to connect with that ground of serenity and well-being, an opportunity to feel the non-duality, the connectedness to all things and nature and the universe. And within meditation as a discipline, meditation's been practiced for thousands of years in many different cultures, and each of those cultures have different methodologies for meditation. Some of the cultures you practice a mantra, some of the cultures you focus on the breath, some of the cultures you do different movements, different types of breathing activities. So meditation as a discipline is very, very diverse. But I believe that the intention is similar among different practices. And it's really about connecting to a broader awareness and feeling that connectedness to everything.
And that broader awareness is always confusing to me. And I believe it is confusing to a lot of people because we cannot see that. We cannot feel that. It's not visible. And how
I
does your...
think that sometimes we make it a bit more complicated. I mean, we can feel when we love something or when we're being loved. We can feel the sense of awe or wonder or reverence watching a sunset or looking at the mountains or the ocean. I think people do have a real genuine sense. I think that we have prioritized the more sort of tangible doing things, and we need to come back to honoring, recognizing, and trusting that felt experience, that is very familiar to us. We know what joy feels like. We know what grief feels like. We know what love feels like. And, this is all included in the broader awareness and having that experience of connecting beyond just like physical sensation.
And it's an experience. We may not have to name it, just to feel it. And we have talked about understanding creative process and energy. But why this is important to have a daily creative process?
Why is it important to have it as part of a daily process? I think our humanity depends on it. I think our sanity depends on it. I think that in order to have optimum physical, mental, spiritual health, we have to take care of that on a daily basis.
And talking about spiritual mental health, how do you deal with somebody or someone who is your client who is looking for some transformation in any area of their life, but they don't believe in spirituality?
Well, people believe in something. So, people who don't believe in spirituality, they might believe in science, or they might believe in um, family, or they might believe in human potential, self actualization. So, everybody believes in something that sort of drives their personal growth and development. So if I was working with someone, it would be because they wanted to grow. And the motivation for that could be that they want to be a better father. It doesn't have to be that they want to experience divine enlightenment, and tapping into whatever that motivation is and whatever makes them feel most alive, most connected, most joyful. You can use that as a catalyst to help people grow and change.
And tapping into that feeling they are after and meeting where they are at, creating
Mm-hmm.
relatability.
Mm-hmm.
And on your website, you have mentioned about optimizing happiness, which
Mm-hmm.
I'm very interested about. Can you please explain more on how we can increase or elevate or optimize our happiness?
Yeah, happiness is also similar to meditation in the sense that there's a lot of different methodology for happiness. There's unconditional happiness and conditional happiness. So I think most of the sort of motivational speakers, personal growth practices are around conditional happiness. How do you create the relationship you want, the physical body you want, the success that you want? How do you, create a life that makes you feel good? And I think that's one approach to happiness. And for that one, there's, setting intentions, and there's setting goals and getting the support that you need to create the kind of life that you want. I think that there's also unconditional happiness, which is more of a Buddhist approach to happiness, or a mindfulness approach to happiness, which is saying that regardless of the conditions of my life, what I look like, where I live, the work I do, regardless of those things, I'm going to cultivate a sense of inner contentment, equanimity, balance, peacefulness. And that practice is more about choosing what you think, choosing optimism, choosing hopefulness, choosing gratitude. And that's more of an internal practice as opposed to the external practices that are sort of more Western mainstream practices.
Inner
So I guess
being versus outer being.
I think so. I would even say kind of like an East-West approach. I would say the Eastern approach tends to be more inner being, and the Western approach tends to be more outer being.
I'm interested to know what practices do you have in your daily life to cultivate more happiness or joy?
Oh, everything. Like going out and standing in the sunshine, drinking cold water, moving my body, sending love notes to my friends, focusing on gratitude, doing work that I love. I mean, to me, it's something that I think about all the time. And when negative emotions come up or negative thinking comes up, I try to be like a guard at the gate. Like I try to recognize and diffuse them before they, take me into unhappiness or too far into unhappiness. And you can't always protect, and you can't always be happy because things are happening. Like things are happening now globally with the COVID virus, and things are happening, and it's natural to have a response to that. But to go back to the daily practice is to create the resilience so that you can keep coming back to balance and not feel too unstable during uncertain times.
And having a positive mindset and resiliency is the key here,
Mm-hmm.
because negative things are going to happen. We cannot control our circumstances. Like
Mm-hmm.
COVID-19 coronavirus is happening. If
Mm-hmm.
we have positive mindset, we have strong resiliency, we can feel what is going on in the world, but we don't have to live with that. And self-acceptance of what is going on, and self-acceptance of everything, including us. And I think Eastern philosophy for happiness may be different from Western philosophy, because Eastern philosophy is saying unconditional happiness is inside you. You don't have to search for happiness outside of you. And sometimes we seek happiness in materialistic things. Maybe if we get a good house, or big car.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you think happiness is coming from our positive psychology? from Eastern philosophy, if that question makes sense to you?
Yeah, I take a very integrative approach. I'm someone that has studied all of the Western things and all of the Eastern things, and I don't believe in polarity. So for me personally, I don't say this approach is better than that approach. I look at the value of different approaches. I know that for me, that if I have a comfortable home and I have healthy food and I have people I love, that significantly contributes to my happiness. To be dependent on those things for my happiness would be problematic because, again, when there's uncertainty, then the happiness hangs in the balance. As far as the Eastern practices go, I believe that the Eastern practices do strengthen your resiliency and strengthen your ability to rebound or to integrate or to process things that are happening. But we're physical beings in a physical body, and I think that both need to be taken into consideration. I think in the Eastern approach, for many centuries, there was sort of an abandonment of body. It was like, no, you just do the practice. You can just sit all day, every day, forever, and you sort of abandon the body. And I don't believe in that. And one of the reasons why I did all of my massage training and body work training is because I believe that we need both. We need to take care of the body. We need to take care of the mind in
And of
order
our
to
soul.
really, yeah.
And what I understand is creating a unique framework for yourself which serves you and not just going after what some philosophy is saying. And I remember this saying from Thich Nhat Hanh, there is no way to happiness. Happiness is
Mm-hmm.
the way.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to know your opinion on combating COVID-19, whatever is going on these days. What do you think about that?
Well, in the context of the conversation that we're having now, combating COVID-19 for me is the mental spiritual practice that we're discussing. Being able to sit in the awareness and the experience that something is happening, being able to express your feelings about what's happening, which is one of the reasons why I'm facilitating the writing community. So people have a safe space where they can come, do some meditation, do some writing, and integrate the experience. This virus is bringing up a lot of past traumas and unresolved things in people. So it's an opportunity for them to go deeper into the healing experience. And I think creating that positive container to help people to do the healing, to be resilient, to manage the emotions and the energies, whether or not the virus is affecting them or loved ones or their community or their country. My relationship to it is holding space for people to be able to stay in the experience, integrate it, express it, and heal from it so that we all move to a higher level. We find ways to move forward that are maybe more healthy than how we were living before the virus came. Like, what is the opportunity going forward? Have we reprioritized our life? Have we saw the value in having to stay home from work and spend more time with family? And is that something that we want to prioritize going forward? So I like to look for the opportunity in things when they come and help others to find the opportunity in them as well.
And that is your self-expression, helping others, finding opportunity in the tough times.
Yeah, I think that that's part of the transformational process. Is we generally don't choose these experiences. These experiences come, and the opportunity for transformation is, how do we learn from this to become stronger, better, more balanced, more healthy going forward?
And speaking of healing and transformation, I would like to know what has been your past experience in helping others to create healing and transformation.
Yeah, I've been working in healing and transformation for more than 20 years. I did my undergraduate work in psychology, and I worked with people who had different kinds of mental, emotional disorders, especially kids and teens. I worked at a drug and alcohol treatment center for young adults, helping them to develop healthy life skills and habits. I did my PhD research about healers from all different cultures around the world in North America, South America, Asia, Africa, and looked at different healing modalities and did research and writing about that, and developed a private practice as a massage therapist, energy healer, yoga teacher. Had the opportunity to work in many different environments doing that: yoga studios, doctors' offices, wellness centers, and then started mentoring and teaching other people how to become healers and teachers and wellness coaches and consultants in many different kinds of online communities and online courses. And it's been my sort of lifelong career to work in the realm of healing and transformation. And that's always expanding and changing depending on the needs that I identify or the invitations that I get. I was invited to develop a retreat center in Northern California. I did that for 2 years. So I just sort of follow the guidance. I think that being a healer is a calling more than it is a profession. And I just try to serve in whatever way that is presented.
And listening to calling is not easy. We have constant noise, this chatter going on in this world. There's so much crap in the world outside. So how can we listen to our inner calling? And everybody has it, but sometimes we don't listen to it.
Yeah, I think that following a calling is a warrior's path. I think it often means going against the current. It often means making choices that might not resonate with family or friends. I think it's trusting yourself more than you're trusting others to sort of make your life decisions and your career decisions. And for me, my calling has always been very strong and very loud. And if I ignore it, I don't feel good. If I try to go against it and choose to be in a situation or a job or something that is not in alignment with my calling, I often start to feel really terrible. I feel drained. I feel tired. I feel anxious. I feel uncomfortable. I've experienced more conflict. So my calling for me, it's like a way of life, and I have to stay in alignment with it in order to feel really good and healthy.
And speaking of instinct, do you feel that our instinct is not always right?
I think it depends on where the instinct is coming from. To go back to the discussion we were having about listening and how when you first sit in meditation, there's a lot of noise. If instinct is coming from that noise, if instinct is coming from, I have to do this thing, or, something terrible will happen, or I will disappoint someone, or I should do this thing because it's the thing I was told to do, all that sort of noise that we have, that's very mental, very cerebral. If our instinct is coming from that, I believe that it's often driven by fear or trying to win approval of others or be competitive or things like that. Whereas I think that there is a deeper instinct. I think there is an instinct that's more connected to our authentic self, our spiritual self, our calling. I do think that there is a deeper instinct. And sometimes I think that those instincts are aligned, and I think sometimes they're in conflict with each other, sort of depending on the environments.
All the time.
Yeah, the family, the tribe. I know some people that are very happy to be, a lawyer or accountant, or they're very content. Their lifestyle doesn't require a lot of spiritual or emotional work. And then I know many people who could never work in a 9-to-5 job or have a kind of traditional life because they just have a deeper calling to facilitate transformation or to help to express the voice that has been suppressed in our culture, that voice of taking care of the earth and taking care of the body and practicing the mindfulness and the beingness. And there are some people who are sort of champions of that, and that's a different path, and it's often contrary to traditional work path.
Yeah, and traditional work path is saying go to 9-to-5 job. 9-to-5 job is not bad. It's the
Right.
norm. It used to be the norm.
Right.
And when we follow our inner voice and instinct, which is true to us, we will have and we will face a lot of pull from society, culture, and families. Why are we doing this? We will have a lot of trouble following that intuition, which is tough for a lot of people. And when sometimes if we have a great job, and if we want to follow our intuition, and we have this devil on the shoulder telling us all the time. If I follow my intuition and instinct, I'll be happy by this job, but I may not get money. But money is also needed. If money is not there, how can I be happy? So all that decision making process, all that noise, it's complex.
Agree 100%. We have many competing priorities. We have to have food and a house, and those things are monetary things. And we also have different levels of needs. There's something in psychology called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And it talks about, the basic needs that you have are food and water and shelter.
Shelter.
And then, going up the pyramid, there's needs for belonging and to have a tribe. So if your tribe is all going one direction and you're trying to go another, you need a different tribe. And then there's needs for self-esteem and self-actualization. And we are very complex beings, and we do have needs and desires on many different levels, and balancing that is very complex, and can be
Yeah,
very
and
challenging.
Eastern philosophy is saying something else, and Western philosophy says something else. But we can integrate and unite them together to make things suitable for our life. And with all these complex scenarios, when I read Dalai Lama book, The Art of Happiness, completely my mind blows. What is going on? What should we do in this overwhelming pressure, overwhelming situation? So how do you deal with this if ever you come across all these things in your head?
I have all these things in my head every day, just like everybody else. I'm not special.
I feel so good right now that I'm not
I'm not
alone.
special. No, I have the experience every day that I also have to make these choices every day. If I have, a company that asks me to do some work for them and I want the money, but I don't really like the company so much, or if I want to take a break to work on my spiritual and mental health, but then I feel like, oh, I shouldn't take a break. I should really be helping someone else. Or I have this experience every day. And I think that you mentioned reading the Dalai Lama book. I think that we have a lot of role models. We have a lot of mentors. We have a lot of people that we can look to for some advice and some guidance. We can have conversations with each other about the choices that we're making, and we can do our practices. We can do our yoga and our meditation and our mindfulness. We can do all our practices, but I don't think there's one right way or one right path. And I don't think we can get it wrong. I don't think that if you choose to do the 9 to 5, it's wrong. Or if you choose not to do the 9 to 5, it's wrong. I think that we're here to have a human experience. It's going to be an imperfect experience. I think that we have to hold ourselves in compassion while we go through the experience, because we may choose something and it doesn't work out, and then we have regret, or we may choose something and we may be rejected by family or friends, and we may have discomfort. The experiences are going to be very diverse, and I think we just have to hold ourselves in compassion and try as much as we can to experience joy while we're going through the process.
And enjoying life and experimenting new things with life in a
Yeah.
constructive way, not in a destructive way, because I strongly feel that whatever we are doing at this present moment, it is leading us to something bigger than this situation in the life. I started this podcasting. I knew that I may not be doing it for my entire life. I have a computer science degree. I have had corporate experience, but my intention was to download information and knowledge from people who have done it, who are doing it, and pass this knowledge to people who are unaware, who are not sure how to carve out their path. And every path that we follow in life leads to something bigger than the path that we cannot see now, and that is faith. Believing is something bigger than ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you're mentioning two things. I mean, the first thing that you're mentioning is the impermanence of things, is that you may do the podcast and then it may go away. And everything is changing all of the time. All of the cells in the body are changing all of the time, the environment, and the humans are coming and they're going, and the animals are coming and they're going. I mean, the nature of the human experience is impermanence, that everything is impermanent. And I do think sometimes we create too much pressure for ourselves, thinking if I make this choice, it's forever. But nothing is forever. These things are always evolving, they're always changing. That's just what it is to be human.
Because we are spiritual beings having human experience on this planet in this lifetime.
Yeah. And then, so the other thing you're talking about is this, that it is a journey and that all of it is leading somewhere. I definitely have a feeling that there is a collective consciousness and that consciousness is moving and expanding and that we will go through physical and non-physical experiences. That is part of my belief system. And I think faith is one of the tools similar to gratitude that allows you to just sort of relax a little bit and trust the unfolding.
And practicing letting go and let the universe work for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
tough because we try to control the situation a lot of times,
Mm-hmm.
and then letting go of the outcome. Detachment, again, coming back to the spiritual side. If I read Lao Tzu's verses, the detachment, practice detachment. How can we practice detachment from the ones we love? Do you have any opinion on that detachment part?
Detachment is also a term that has different connotations in different traditions. There's sort of the Buddhist idea of detachment and the psychology idea of detachment. My personal definition of detachment would be similarly to the unconditional happiness, would be that you are not dependent on that thing for your joy, that you're cultivating inner stability and an inner serenity, and you can still love the thing and you can still be connected to the thing and appreciate the thing, but that there isn't that dependency, which we're not good at this in Western culture. We're addicted to everything. We're addicted to food and to work and to people and to substance. Like, we're not very good in Western culture at this idea of detachment, because so much, like you mentioned, so much of our happiness is connected to material things or external ideas of success and
Do you feel
happiness.
that addiction could be to love, sex, food,
Oh, for sure. Yes,
is
100%.
leading to the misery in our life?
Addiction, in my perspective, is a spiritual illness. It's looking for fulfillment and love outside of yourself. And to me, one of the goals of spiritual practice is to be able to be self-sustaining with the self-love and with the self-care and with the self-acceptance, so that you don't need all the things to help you feel good. I think all the things that we choose, the work and the sex and the love and the food and could even be exercise, all the things are sort of a grasping for what we're missing on the inside. And that's what healing is to me. Healing is becoming whole. It's becoming the fullest expression of yourself and releasing anything that gets in the way of that. And I believe healing is work, because I think that over the course of our lifetime, we're trained out of that wholeness. We're trained into socialization and conformity, and we're almost trained into addiction. And, coming back to healing is coming back to that wholeness within ourselves.
How do you define healing?
Becoming whole, becoming the fullest expression of yourself.
And I'm thinking about what could be the obstacles to
So
being
many
whole
things.
and healing.
So many things. So many things. You mentioned, letting go. Like, trying to control all the time is an obstacle to healing, because you have to be able to let go of things that aren't serving you. It could be beliefs that aren't serving you, emotions that aren't serving you, people that aren't serving you. You have to be able to allow those things to go so that you can experience that fullness. There could be resistance to healing. There could be,
So much.
that sort of congestion and that tension, and that, that can be an obstacle to healing. There could be just the belief that, like, this is as good as it gets, or I will always be unhappy, or nothing works out for me. There could be just some sort of repetitive belief that's blocking the healing. There's so many things, which is why we're so lucky to have so many healers and so many practices, so that we can, like peeling the layers of an onion, we can just keep peeling the layers and peeling the layers.
And when we peel one layer, there is another layer.
Oh, yes,
There is another layer.
100%.
I have been reading Lao Tzu, Dalai Lama. I follow Wayne Dyer to the heart. And when we connect all these spiritual principles to the transformation, everything I feel is kind of same, but saying in a different language. Do you have any favorite spiritual guru or mentor you follow all the time?
Many. I have many. I read a book a week. I'm always learning and always studying. I think within different traditions, I have different teachers that I love. On the more sort of Buddhist mindfulness side of things, I love Tara Brach. I'm not sure if you're familiar with her.
Yeah,
but
self-acceptance. I love Tara
she's
Brach.
lovely. She's great. I have gone to the teachings of the Dalai Lama and many Buddhist masters, and I value that very much. In my yoga practices, I studied with a woman named Gurumukh of the Kundalini tradition and Sharon and David of the Jivamukti tradition, and they've been valuable teachers to me. I follow a woman named Abraham Hicks, and she's a bit more extreme in her approach. She does channeling, and it's very much about manifestation, law of attraction, and I like her work very much.
Who is your go-to when you are in confusion in your life? Any one person, or you just unite all the principles?
Who's my go-to? My go-to is usually my best friend, Jamie. My go-to is usually people that remind me who I am and remind me that I'm strong and remind me that I'm resilient and remind me that I'm loved. So yeah, I have some beautiful people in my life that I go to them and I say, I'm struggling. I'm confused. I don't know what to do. I don't feel good. And I look to them to uplift me.
And this is where our resiliency comes from. It's okay to fail. It's okay to say that we are confused. We are not sure what is going to happen. We need support. And asking for support, asking for help is
I ask
very
for help
much
all
needed.
the time. Oh, yeah.
It was so difficult for me. I had never asked for help in my entire life. I was like, I will do it all by myself. Now I tell people, I do not know this. I know this is not my strength. And I do not want to learn this. I will hire somebody to do it for me because I have a bigger thing to work on. It's okay to not know everything. So speaking of books, you read a book every week.
I had a very similar journey. Yeah, it is my favorite things. I love to learn. I mostly love to learn about the experience that other people are having. So I read many memoirs and biographies and autobiographies, stories about people. Like it could be anyone from, I just read some of the memoirs of some technology people like Elon Musk. So it could be someone that is doing something that I don't know how to do, or it could be something like The Art of Happiness. Like it could be something in wellness. I like to read everything, books about business, books about fitness, books about I lived on a sailboat for 6 years and I love sailing, and sometimes I read books about sailboats. So it could be anything really.
And being open to learning new things in life.
Oh yeah.
So that
for sure.
If your heart and soul is open, you can allow newer big things to come into your body and into your life.
Absolutely.
What has been your favorite book that you have given as a gift the most?
Oh, that's a very interesting question. Oh,
or you would like to give?
Or I would like to give. I would have to say that you would have had to have given me that question to meditate on for me to give you the best possible answer. I can tell you there's a book that I'm reading right now by Kelly Brogan. She's a physician. It's called Own Yourself. And I think it's a beautiful book about the integration of spirituality and medicine. What other ones come to mind? I mentioned that I love memoirs, so I've read all of Maya Angelou's work, and the Michelle Obama memoir was beautiful. What else? I love the work of John Kabat-Zinn. He has a very small, simple book called Wherever You Go, There You Are, that gives you, daily mindfulness prompts. Tara Brach's, both of her books are beautiful, Self-Acceptance, and her new Compassion book. Yeah.
Have you heard of
So many.
Anthony DeMello.
No.
Anthony DeMello died in 1987 when I
Okay.
was born.
Mm-hmm.
I got his book called Awareness
Mm-hmm.
last year in December. I got to know about this book from Tim Ferriss' podcast.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This is a mind-blowing book. I've given tons of this book as a gift. So this book is about awareness, deep level of awareness, and I've read it more than 50 times in the last 3 months. Same book.
Wow.
Eye opener. And I'm reading this book again from Anthony DeMello, The Way to Love. And this is this beautiful saying. He's saying, if you feel attached to things or any person in your life, just repeat this mantra to yourself. I'm not really attached to you at all. I'm merely deluding myself into the belief that without you, I will not be happy. Kind of a mindfulness mantra to practice and letting go of the attachments.
Yeah, that's powerful.
Well, Dr. Gaby, thank you so much for your time. And it was amazing conversation with you.
Yeah, this was a very beautiful conversation for me. I really appreciate the invitation.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to this podcast with Dr. Gaby. You can follow her work at IG and Twitter at the rate DrGabbyPelicci. Same ID is on Instagram and Twitter. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you learned from this episode that you can apply in your life. If you did enjoy this, please subscribe to the podcast, The Nishant Garg Show, on Apple Podcasts and leave reviews. Also, you can make an impact in someone else's life by sharing this podcast. When you share this, you can transform someone else's life. I'm so grateful that we got Dr. Gaby on this podcast and share her message with the world. So please spread the message everywhere. Lao Tzu said, do the difficult things while they are easy, and do the great things while they are small. A journey of 1,000 miles must begin with a single step.